We're going to issue a dividend to our middle income people and lower income people of about $2,000. And we're going to use the remaining tariffs to lower our debt. We're going to be lowering our debt, which is a national security thing. So we're doing a lot of good work. And the numbers were reported so incorrectly. The real numbers are trillions of dollars have been taken in or gotten in terms of investment from the tariffs. And so if that were ever reversed, it would be a disaster. Frankly, it would be a national security problem for our country. And nobody thinks it's going to be reversed. I think we had a very good court case. As you know, it's before the Supreme Court right now. But if that were ever reversed, you know, people are saying, oh, it's $1 billion. Some people said, oh, it's $2 billion. Well, that obviously we can handle very easily. But this is trillions of dollars we're talking about in terms of the tariff income and all the investment income that's come into our country. You want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Why this beat so crazy?
We will make America proud again. When you try to kill our we will make America wealthy again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
Wait, what a time to be alive, I tell you. Oh, Donnie, man, I tell you. It's like a roller coaster with Trump as your president, man. And I'm here for it, you know. From the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful. Hey, here we are, man. And Trump is your president, whether you like it or not. Hey. But I love me some Trump, man. I don't care what nobody said about Donnie. I love me some Donnie, man. Donnie trying his hardest. They left Donnie a mess. Hell, we didn't know who the hell was running this thing. And now we know who's running it, you know. Now, we all not going to agree on everything, agree to disagree, you know. And there's been some takes Trump has had to like, whoa there. Now, you know, just like what we had with the 50-year mortgages. Well, y'all, let me know how y'all feel. If you was to receive a $2,000 stimulus check in your bank account, you just open your bank up, you seen $2,000. And you knew it's because of this man right here. Tell me, how would you feel down below? How would you think of it? You know? If you was just to receive $2,000. And if you want, crack some jokes for me in the comment section. Crack some jokes for me. You know? But, again, all they have done is gaslight, fearmonger, give us to say the worst of the worst, misinformation, disinformation, said that the country was destroyed. And here we are, man, you know, and a lot of the things that they have said, what Democrats have said, has backfired. And actually, Trump has won on a lot of things. But if you was to receive $2,000, y'all let me know about that, man, in the comment section, man. But we got some big things to get into on this whole $2,000 a person stimulus check. $2,000. $2,000. Yay! Here's the Secretary Scott Bessent. Here's what he said just earlier.
That's the most financially responsible thing to do?
Well, there are a lot of options here. The president's talking about a $2,000 rebate, and that would be for families making less than, say, $100,000.
Have you decided on that yet?
We haven't. It's in discussion. But the other thing to think about, Brian, is that what we did with the tax bill is actually financing the president's no tax and tips over time. So security and the big refunds you're going to see are a result of that. So that's another payment to the American people. And then the other thing you're going to see in the middle of the year are these Trump accounts. Every child born retroactively to January 1, but for the next 3 years, is going to get a $1,000 account that's going to be invested in the U.S. stock market. So that's another $1,000 for working families.
So yes.
Oh hell, Kevin O'Leary and his pink flip flops. But I was seeing a joke down below, and it was saying, man, if people get this $2,000, Yep, that Trump is once again won the black community. Yeah, people are not gonna stop talking about the $2,000 for the next couple of years. They gonna say, "Hey, man, and hey, when Trump was in there, we had this, we had that, we had a stimulus." But we know how, we know what all that. So when we talk about that, and really what came from behind that, and again with 19 and stuff. So people always take it out of context, and it's kind of it is a little bit. I agree with people. It is a little bit ignorant when people take it out of context and make those kind of jokes. But hey, sometimes we gotta have a good laugh, man. That's what life's all about, man. Politics is a dirty game, man. But check out what Kevin O'Leary said.
Meantime, the president is floating a $2,000 dividend from the tariffs. It's unclear, by the way, if Americans will actually get a check. Is this a gimmick?
I don't shill for politicians. I've told you this countless times. I'm a policy guy. I don't want to send checks to people. I want to use those dollars to reduce the national deficit. The promise of tariffs to be reciprocal against VAT taxes, which are applied in countries like Italy and France and Switzerland and Canada. We don't have consumption taxes here, so we call them tariffs. But the idea was, if they're reciprocal, why not take those proceeds and apply them against the debt? The long-term prosperity.
That's what he says he wants to do, Kevin. He wants to do that. He says that he wants to take whatever's left over. It'll go towards paying down the debt. But Trump has said that that was the purpose of the tariff. So why not use all the tariff revenue for that same purpose then?
Because sending checks to people is inflationary. And really what we need long-term is to reduce deficits. So forget about the $2,000 sent out to everybody and just apply it against the deficit of the country. We have massive, massive debt. We don't have a balanced budget yet. And so even if we're bringing in all this money on tariffs, which is the equivalency in balancing out these VAT taxes, value-added taxes, we call them tariffs, apply it to the debt. I mean, look, I'm being very pragmatic here. We've sent so much money, helicopter money, through the pandemic into the economy. We still have north of 3% inflation. The mandate of the Fed is 2%. So we're still a long way away from the mandate. Sending out more cash into the market? No.
Bill is
How about
nodding
reducing
in agreement.
debt?
Oh boy. And like I just said back when 19. Woof. Oh boy. There, Kevin O'Leary in his flip-flops and his suit. But I wanted to read some of these just real quick, y'all. Because y'all know I love reading things from both sides of the aisle. Again, it makes the show even better. But it says the amount of grown adults that think they're getting a $2,000 tariff refund check is mind-blowing. And Wall Street Math says it hasn't been a good week for policy ideas floated by the White House. 50-year mortgages, a $2,000 tariff stimulus check, Americans can't do jobs, more H-1B visas, 600,000 Chinese students keeping liberal universities alive. And as y'all know right now, Trump is getting a lot of backlash from both sides, and especially from the MAGA base after what he said just in a recent interview with Laura Ingraham. And saying, and that people really didn't like the way he worded, saying Americans are not so talented, and we need to bring, this, people in with the H-1B visas. And again, a lot of people are going to take that all over the place. People are always going to take everything out of context, and you can see why. There would be a lot of backlash from that, which he's receiving right now. And it's just been one little rough week, I would say, man. It's been a rough last couple of 7 days. And again, we know Trump is probably seeing that now and like, whoa. But I told y'all, be ready. The pressure is on, man. Especially as we're getting closer to the midterms. Man, I tell you, man, Trump, that people are locked in. And any little thing Trump says, And if he comes out there with his shirt wrinkled or his suit jacket wrinkled, a little bit of wrinkle, man, you're not gonna hear the last of it. You know, so Trump right now has to be sharp, man. And this says right here by Wall Street Map, I think the only way for Trump to recover for the 2026 midterms is to reverse course and take two actions: halt H-1B visas, revoke 600,000 Chinese student visas. If two of those steps says his approval rating would soar, America First would be obvious. You know. But yeah, we have not heard the last of it, man, with some of the things that have been said this past week. And again, I knew it was going to be a lot of hit back, especially with the 50-year mortgages, you know, because just how the economy is and just how the market is and everything right now with the rates and everything, man, people want stuff to just come down, man, you know, and I'm for that. Y'all know what I advocate for on this channel, man, for everybody to have an amazing life, man, to be able to afford things, affordability, for all the rates to come down, man, for everybody to go inside of a store to pump their gasoline, you know, and have a smile on their face, you know. I know the old days are gone. I know we're in 2025, man, and you know, it seems like things just won't get better, only worse. But we can have faith, man. We can have faith, man. We can hope. We can pray, you know. But I'm wishing the best in everybody's life, man. And that's what I advocate for on this channel, and I'm gonna continue to advocate for that, man. You know, again, we know Trump was left with a complete mess. You know, and the Democrats ought to be ashamed of themselves, how they've blamed everything and twisted up everything, took everything out of context, lied, fear-mongered, gaslit the American people that everything is Trump's fault. You know, it's the Republicans, it's MAGA, you know. Same what we seen with this whole government shutdown. A disgrace, man. But I told y'all, the American people, majority of Americans are not stupid. You are not stupid, you know. But let's jump into this that I want to get into. The $2,000 stimulus check. Trump confirms. And this was coming from Clear Value Tax. A couple of y'all sent me this earlier, and I wanted to check it out.
Check to all Americans. Trump has officially confirmed and promised the $2,000 stimulus check to all Americans from the tariff revenue. So on behalf of
y'all know I love reading people say in the comments. It says again, I'll believe it when the money's in my bank account. LOL, laughing my butt off. The last time I came to this, I was him talking about the last stimulus check. Welcome back, everybody. Dang, a stimulus check reunion. By the time we get it, the $2,000 will only be the time we get it. The $2,000 will only be worth $200. Finally, I'll be able to pay off the mortgage on my cardboard box, and now I just need to worry about the property tax. Hey man, people just being real, man. I tell you, it's a disgrace, man. You know, after you pay off this and that, you still got to pay this and that and that and this and that. It's just all a scam, man. Trust me, I know. Being a homeowner at 25 years of age now, I bought my first home when I'm 25. I'm 25 right now. You know, I bought my first home. It's been 5 months now, and we've learned so much, man. But once you realize, after learning all this, and after seeing all the paperwork and all the companies and all the soliciting and the taxes and the property tax, this and that, the HOA, the POA for this and that, like, man, we've all been bamboozled, you know. A disgrace. You know, this goes to the school, this goes here, you know. That's why I'm with them what's the name in Florida been advocating for no property tax. I wish we all were advocate for that, man. I wish we all hit the. If you talking about protests, that's what we should be out there protesting. Things like no property tax and no this, no that. You know, get the government out of our lives. And we talk about protest, you know, but they too busy at a no kings. He wants to be king all of a sudden. When you got people like Nancy Pelosi's and Chuck Schumer's, who's been in there for almost 100 years. Tell you, man.
Absolutely crystal clear about this. So this is not like an idea that he's floating around. It's not like, oh, he's going to consider this or he's thinking about it. No, he officially confirmed it and promised it. So I'm going to give you my opinion, but I want to show you the situation first. Okay, so I want to read you what President Trump wrote on Sunday, November 9th, and then we're going to review this piece by piece. It begins with, people that are against tariffs are fools. We are now the richest, most respected country in the world. With almost no inflation and a record stock market price, 401ks are highest ever. We are taking in trillions of dollars and will soon begin paying down our enormous debt, $37 trillion. Record investment in the USA, plants and factories going up all over the place. A dividend of at least $2,000 a person, not including high-income people, will be paid to everyone. Okay, so take a look at that last sentence. It's not we might, it's not we could, it's not we're thinking about it. It's clear, it's very clear cut, and it's an official promise. Now, I just want to point this out. Do you remember the potential DOGE dividend check? So that stimulus check earlier in the year. So when President Trump floated that idea of giving a stimulus check from all the money that DOGE was going to save the government, when he was talking about that, President Trump had a different tone and he used a different language. He didn't make any promises. He said it may happen. We're thinking about it. It's something that he would consider. So I want to show you.
There's even under consideration a new concept where we give 20% of the DOGE savings to American citizens and 20% goes to paying down debt, because the numbers are incredible, Elon. So many billions of dollars, billions, hundreds of billions, and we're thinking about giving 20% back to the American.
Remember we see that, we kept seeing that number go up and up and up and up. I remember that, man, in February.
American citizens, and 20% down to pay back debt and pay down debt.
Okay, so you just saw that. When President Trump was talking about this idea, a DOGE stimulus check, I immediately called BS. Just the way that he was talking about it, the tone and language that he was using. So I said that's not going to happen. Don't get your hopes up. You can watch this video. And I made my position, I made my prediction very clear. So that was my objective conclusion. But do you now see the difference in President Trump's language? Regarding the DOGE stimulus check, you can't blame President Trump for not delivering because he never promised a DOGE stimulus check. But I'm telling you that this time it's different, because President Trump is explicitly saying that he's going to give a $2,000 stimulus check to almost all Americans, excluding the high income earners. And if he doesn't deliver, well, then I'm obviously going to be obligated to call him out on it. Now, let's analyze the other pieces of President Trump's post. My first concern is that if President Trump gives a $2,000 stimulus check to all Americans, minus high-income earners, then it's going to spike inflation, just like the other stimulus checks did. And right now, inflation is still running hot. Okay, so President Trump claims that the rate of inflation is close to 0%. However, the U.S. federal government is reporting that the rate of inflation is at 3.0%. But currently, the true rate of inflation is closer to approximately 6%. Okay, so right off the bat, I have to disagree with President Trump's statement that inflation is close to 0%. Now, I just want to say this, and I'm addressing the MAGA crowd, and I'm just speaking very sincerely here. I want you to understand, please understand this, that you are allowed to disagree with President Trump and still support him.
Thank you for saying that. I'm just, man, like I just said in the video we just did before this on the show, again, but a lot of people think we're in like some kind of cult or something. Like people, whatever daddy says, that's what that's what it is. Like what? No. Oh man. Again, there's been things we call everything out on this show, man. You know, we've been real. We do not sugarcoat it. And again, this is why we love agreeing to disagree. And this is why I tell you guys, I don't got nothing against you, man. If you think this or that, fine. You know, a lot of people on this show make a lot of good points. A lot of people make a lot of terrible points. You know, agree to disagree. You know, and I tell you guys, just be respectful in the comment section, man. But I'm so glad that he said that. You know, I don't know how many times we got to say it. People just can't get it through their mind. I mean, you can disagree and still support the man. Again, we see what people were saying. You see how much backlash Trump just got with the 50-year mortgage idea they floated this past week.
I want you to know that he is not your God. He is a politician. So it's like, I said this before, it's like this. I have a cousin, and a lot of times he says really stupid things, and he makes really bad decisions. Regardless, I still support my cousin, even though he says stupid things sometimes. Anyways, it's very important for you to know that, relatively speaking, the rate of inflation right now is actually pretty low. So 6% is not that bad, relatively speaking. Because, okay, the reason I'm saying that is you have to remember that the Federal Reserve is right now aggressively lowering interest rates, and they're getting ready to turn the money printers back on. And they're saying as early as Q1 of 2026, which is right around the corner. So even without these stimulus checks, the rate of inflation is going to go much higher in 2026. And with these stimulus checks, I mean, the rate of inflation, it would be mind-blowing. Now, in this section, President Trump says that the tariffs are giving trillions of dollars, and the government can take this tariff money to pay down the government's debts of $37 trillion. First of all, President Trump posted this on November 9th, and as of November 9th, the government's debt is at $38.1 trillion, not 37. And this is according to the Treasury Department. This is straight from the Treasury's website. Next, here's how much money that tariffs have generated for the U.S. government. In the most recently reported month, so September, tariff revenue soared to $31.6 billion. If we continue at that monthly rate, then that's going to provide the government $380 billion a year. Okay, so I really don't understand where President Trump's getting this multi-trillion dollars from. Again, that's a run rate of $380 billion a year. Now, I want you to take a look at this. For fiscal year 2025, the U.S. government's overspent by $1.78 trillion. In other words, they had a $1.78 trillion deficit, and that includes the money that they got from tariffs. So in other words, the U.S. government went deeper into debt by $1.78 trillion in fiscal year 2025. So listen, I'm just going to tell you this straight up. Like, I'm not quite following President Trump's math here. So I just want to calculate this out loud. Tariffs will give the U.S. government $380 billion a year, and the government will need to borrow an additional $2 trillion to fund their overspending. All right, so according to my calculations, $2 trillion is greater than $380 billion. So how are we going to pay down the national debts with tariff revenue? Like, I'm not following. Maybe I missed this part in math class. I guess the education system in Illinois failed me. All right, so President Trump is saying that he's going to pay down the national debt with all this money that's coming in from tariffs. I'll tell you, like, honestly, I'm very skeptical. Like, let's see over the next few months if the federal debt goes down from here, from $38.1 trillion, or if it goes up. But I mean, that's just a silly question, because I guarantee you that the federal government's debt is just going to become larger. The only way that they're going to pay down debt.
What do y'all think? Let me know in the comment section, man. Again, I know there's a lot of people saying, well, we need to give time on this, on that. And they say, hey, I mean, it's only been 10 months. You know, it's a lot of fair conservatives part of this family. So we'll see, man. You know,
in my opinion, would be with gold revaluation. Other than that, there's no other way. Now, this part, President Trump says that there's record investment in the USA. Plants and factories are springing up all over the place. Actually, that is not true. As a matter of fact, a record amount of job cuts were announced in October, and the country lost 3,000 manufacturing jobs last month. Now, with all that taken into consideration, President Trump says a dividend of at least $2,000 a person will be paid to everyone. So my question that I pose to everyone is, are we supposed to believe this? Because just in this single post, there's so much misinformation. Can President Trump really deliver on this tariff dividend, or I guess you can call it a stimulus check? First of all, if President Trump wanted to give a $2,000 stimulus check, then Congress would need to vote on it, just like they did back during the pandemic. It would have to pass in the House of Representatives with a simple majority, and then it would have to pass in the Senate with 60 votes. And I'll tell you that there is no way that they're going to get 60 votes for this. Okay, so if President Trump wanted to pass this in the Senate, then he would have to do the reconciliation procedure, and that would lower the requirement down to 50 votes instead of 60. But even so, like I'm telling you, there's a handful of Republicans, especially in the Senate, that are fiscal hawks, and they would refuse to go at party lines on this because of the inflation situation. So in my opinion, getting this $2,000 stimulus check to Americans would be very challenging in Congress. But listen, I'll tell you this. The only way that I see this actually going through is if the recession worsens exponentially next year in 2026, and they have to save the economy with this being the last resort. Again, that would be disastrous for inflation, but you know how they operate. You know how the politicians in DC operates. They just put out one fire at a time and they kick the can down the road. And listen, just like the last time that I said the DOGE stimulus check was BS, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to call it like it is. For this one, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I would say I wouldn't write this one off yet. Not just yet. Because desperate times call for desperate measures. And a lot of things in the financial sector are on the verge of breaking. That's why they're panicking at the Federal Reserve. That's why they're cutting interest rates so aggressively. And that's why they stopped the QT. And now they're talking about starting the QE, the quantitative easing. And I want to throw this last curveball out there. So President Trump's tariffs are being challenged in courts. It's gone to the Supreme Court, and oral arguments have been heard on November 5th. It's been fast-tracked, but I'm telling you, it could take a while before we get the final decision from the Supreme Court. If Trump's tariffs are struck down, then the tariff revenue is expected to be cut in half. So it's not like they're going to go away completely, but they're going to be reduced significantly. And that would mean that annual tariff collections, like if they struck it down, it would fall below $200 billion a year. And you have to remember that the government overspends by almost $2 trillion a year. Listen, that's my assessment. And I just want to say that I'm going to keep you up to date with this information. And again, I'm going to be straight up and just very straightforward with you because you know how it is out there. It's tough times. It's wild out there. And we just need clear, just straightforward information, the truth, because we don't want false hope. We don't want false promises. We don't want to be strung along. And I'm just going to see this through with you. I'll keep you up to date. Thank you so much, and I wish you very
Boy. Hey, man, what do y'all think of that, man? And again, I want to send a huge shout out to a couple of the fellows that sent that over to me. And again, it's always good to just check out things from all over the place, you know. That was a great assessment, you know. Again, there's people in the comments making jokes and again saying, I'll believe it when I see the money in my bank account. People saying this is a bribe for the 2026 midterm election. Let's be clear about this. Nobody's getting a check. And says the IRS will take it back when you file taxes. You know, so people are saying all kinds of things in the comment section, man. And also there's some Trump lovers in the comment section. There's some Trump haters, some leftist liberals, who again don't like anything that Trump proposes or says. So man, you know how that be, you know. But we'll see where this takes us, man. A $2,000 stimulus check. How would that be if you got that right now? Let me know in the comment section down below. I love y'all. God bless you and your family. And I will catch you on the next one, man. Peace and love, you guys.